Yes.
That's my turn. That's 6 years. Oh, every Sunday. Well, online. For now.
Wait, you got saved.
Oh, okay. And I'm gonna
Saved by the devil. He's got it.
Huh?
Oh, really? I know everything.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, is that better? Wonderful. How's everyone doing tonight? Life is great, and I am blessed. Okay, so we initially have put it together as a board meeting to go into a closed session item, but that is actually being pulled from the agenda tonight. So we're going to flow into a roll call to make sure that there's enough of us here for a quorum, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the town hall meeting so that we're at our 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. timeline. Staying on time. Okay. Can you please call the roll?
Trustee Sanchez? Trustee Reyes-Plummer?
Here.
Trustee Jones? Trustee Lightfoot?
Here.
Trustee Peppers?
Here.
Trustee Brandon? Mayor Booker?
Here.
You have a form.
Okay, so we're going to shoot right over to item number 7, which is what we're here for tonight, just to talk about our American Rescue Act funds. So when talking about our American Rescue Act funds, one of the biggest things that we want to focus on talking about is what can we actually use the funds for, and what are things that are being considered and taken into consideration as we're talking about what our dollars can go for. So the Village of Maywood was granted $3.1 million, and we got 50% of it now. We'll get another 50% of it later. So in looking at what the eligible dollars can be spent on, funding must fit into one of the following 4 statutes. So to respond to COVID-19 public health emergency as its negative impact on the economy, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to such eligible workers of the recipient, or by providing grants to eligible employers that have eligible workers who perform essential work. For the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue, such recipient due to COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year of the recipient prior to the emergency, and make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. So one thing to note, at the bottom where it says funds do not have to be obligated until December 31st of 2024. So I know sometimes when people talk about what are we going to do with this ARPA money, realistically, that ARPA money funds through 4 fiscal years. We do not have to spend that money like it's burning a hole in our pocket. We can be intentional and strategic about this money. We do not have to spend it all at once. We have 4 fiscal years in which to invest, in which this ARPA money can go to. So when we talk about investment in the community, taxes in the community, all of these things need to be considered when we're talking about money for American Rescue Plan Act funding. So the four uses are split into 7 different categories in which we will have to report to the government. Public health, negative impact on the economy, services to disproportionately impact communities, premium pay, infrastructure, revenue replacement, and administrative. So when looking at those things, we're focused on elements of a healthy community. All types of things in which either ARPA funding can go towards, or we can use ARPA funding in certain ways and then use our general funds in other ways that we normally would use general funding for. So as I go through the various different things, fully well aware, our ARPA funding will not cover everything that we're discussing, but these are things that are on the block that will be covered within ARPA funding or taken into consideration as we're discussing the ARPA funding spending. So when we think about public health, focusing on making our community a healthier community. When you look at suburban Cook County, you see our rate of heart disease, you see the pink line, that's, Maywood is right in the center of that. So we have major issues when it comes to public health as it pertains to heart disease, as it pertains to strokes, as it pertains to diabetes, as it pertains to mental health. Realistically speaking, when we look at our health issues, specifically here in the village of Maywood, when you cross over the Des Plaines River right into River Forest, their life expectancy increases by 10 years. So we have the opportunity to focus on public health as an opportunity and have funds that we can invest in focusing on those things, and those are being taken into consideration as we're thinking about that. Conversations have already been taking place in regards to how do we focus on primary care, more and more natural birth deliveries, behavioral health, transportation, other specialty care, but then also thinking about it from the standpoint of vertical integration. So vertical integration focuses on those things that are preventative maintenance. So not responding to someone after they've had the stroke or after they have the diabetes, but what are the things that we can pour into people prior to that even being an issue. So we talk about preventing health services, multi-generational effects, focusing on those from infants to youth to adolescents to senior, providing various courses and seminars of education and awareness to our residents, focusing on those who are food insecure, working at workout facilities, therapy for those that are needed, making sure that we have programming in place, farming. All of these are different things that focus on a more healthier community, which is what we're truly focused on. And we can designate some of the ARPA funding, or again, we can designate ARPA funding to focus on different things that we can then focus on these areas as well. When we talk about public safety, one thing that I really want to remind everyone for, we'll be putting this out as a quarterly update, just so we're aware. When we talk about public safety and crime in the village of Maywood, while we definitely know we have a lot of work left to do, we are down in double digits in homicides, in domestic disputes, in overdoses we're over 85% down, domestic disputes were 49% down. Aggravated battery, we're down 26%. Robberies, we're down 57%. Now, vehicle hijackings, we already know, are a huge issue. For those who haven't read the reports, Chicago this year will probably be the major city that has the highest number of carjackings in the Chicagoland area. So these are things that our task force and our police department are working with various different task forces throughout the suburban Cook County area, as well as Chicagoland and state as well. So we are doing the best that we can and the most that we can to update information and technology to capture the carjackings, but I just wanted to highlight and showcase that, again, while we have a lot of work that needs to be done, where we were in 2019 and where we were in 2020, well, certainly is not where we are in 2021 when it comes to safety. In thinking about public safety, we have launched the Crisis Management and Public Safety Collaborative. So in thinking about the Crisis Management and Public Safety Collaborative, this is truly a first full force that we are bringing all of the governing bodies within the village of Maywood together to truly address and combat our public safety. When we think about our public safety, areas of focus will include mental health and wellness, smart routes and safe passage to our students to get to school, reimagining what a crossing guard truly may be, crisis management and intervention, traffic control and flow, school resource officers, funding and resources, and other data reporting. So with that being said, we have Township, the Village of Maywood, School District 209, School District 89, the Maywood Park District, the Maywood Public Library, the Maywood Police Department, our Homeland Security and Public Safety, our principals of Irving Middle School as well as Proviso East Middle School, and some various collaboratives of parent partners of advisory boards for 89 and 209 that will be working to come up with these things that will focus on these areas of focus that will move our community in a more prosperous way. So some things that we've also been considering are 3 different programs. I'm going to show the videos for them, and then we'll continue with the presentation. This one program comes from a community that's already doing it. It's where an officer actually lives within the community in a home that the village pays for.
ROPE stands for the Resident Officer Program Development, and that is the program where we actually have police officers who live and work in the community. They're actually assigned a apartment or a house, a squad car, a police bicycle, and their duties are to just work with the neighborhoods to actually improve the quality of life in the neighborhood. The neighborhoods that are selected on a variety of reasons. Crime is part of it. There's problems with quality of life issues such as parking cars, abandoned cars, loud music, landlords not doing a good job screening their tenants. We look at a variety of criteria, calls for service, how often the police are going to that neighborhood. Are these calls for service that maybe the resident officer can help to alleviate by problem solving? So it's not just crime, but crime definitely plays a part of it. What this is meant to do is actually go back to an era, in a sense, where the officer was a part of that neighborhood. They used to do foot patrols, and they would know all their residents. As time and technology has moved us forward, officers have been pulled out of the neighborhoods because they can respond to larger areas as they become assigned a squad car. And so it became more about how quickly we get to calls, how quickly we are able to clear calls. What the resident officer program really is about going back to really just problem solving with residents, knowing who lives in the neighborhood, identifying what are some of the concerns of the residents, and actually working to alleviate the calls for service that go on there. So it's kind of a way to go back in time where the officer knows everything going on in that neighborhood and actually become part of that community, and not just coming in there to answer calls, make arrests, write tickets, and then leave, but become part of that fabric of that community. And by working with the neighborhood, it's important that that neighborhood group helps you identify what they see the issue. And so it's not the police coming in and saying, here are the problems that are in your community, here's what we're going to do to solve it. It's really an effort of working together to say, what do you see as the problems? Here's what we see. And then identifying what are our priorities. And then really looking at root causes. With the ultimate goal of really reducing the amount of calls that we have in this area to solve the problems and not just routinely responding over and over.
I'm Aaron Chivarette. I'm the resident officer at 326 Chicago Street. So this neighborhood is a Gibbons Park neighborhood. A lot of historical homes. It's a wide variety of different people. Most of the churches and elders are in this area. It's a neighborhood that really attracts a lot of different people. My role is to be that face for the city. As a resident officer, I should be engaging my neighborhood. I should be speaking to citizens out there. They should know who I am. The children in the neighborhood should definitely have a relationship with me and know who I am. I'm that bridge between citizens and the police department. I'm that go-to person. I'm that person that has that relationship with them where they'll feel comfortable speaking with me. But it's also engaging the neighbors to really help them solve the problem too. If it's a neighbor issue, well, let's get these neighbors together and let's talk about what the problem is. If it's a problem at the local school, where we might have some kids, well, these kids and this kids are having issues. So let's get the families together and really come up and mentor and find an answer to solve the problem so this doesn't continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, what's the thing? Trinity School is a school that's in my neighborhood. So the students that live in my area go to Channing Elementary School. And that means I have to be able to engage these children. I'm there after school. I try to be there after school in the morning when traffic is coming and going. I'm there if there's a problem that occurs at the school and someone brings a problem to the school. It's my job to build that relationship with the children. I can't expect the children to come to me and build a relationship. I have to come to them. And so we really try to engage kids there and let them see me as a different person, not necessarily as a police officer who drives around and makes an arrest or writes a ticket, but as a familiar face that they will feel comfortable coming to and say, hey, officer, you know, this is going on in my house. Now, on the other hand, if I got to go to their house for a call, well, when the kid knows the officer, oh, that's Officer
safe and secure in their neighborhoods, create an environment where people can enjoy their neighborhood without fear of crime. And the resident officer program only works when the community wants a resident officer. Having one officer move into a neighborhood and start trying to do everything on their own would be a recipe for disaster. So it needs to be a resident officer to be there and be something that motivates the people to get engaged in their community. And so by getting engaged and identifying what the problems are in that neighborhood and working with their resident officer to solve the problems, that's where the real goal of the program is and where we've seen the most successes.
All right, so again, thinking about that aspect, it's more so the resident officer program would be where the village of Maywood would identify a property, prepare the property for an officer to live in it, and then they would be like sort of a beat captain or a beat area where they would patrol. So those are one of the things that we're focusing on. Another aspect when we think of crisis response in regards to public health and public safety, you know, the normal natural thing to do is to call 911. What different programs have across the state is where instead of a police officer responding to these issues, you have mental health specialists, behavioral health specialists, or certified professionals in various aspects that respond to these calls. So watch a quick video and then we'll talk about a little bit more.
Crisis does not happen, well for me, did not happen just like that. It happened gradually where I found myself in the streets. So I'm gonna let you know that, you know, I'm in the street myself.
Miguel Leyva spun out of control when his mother died. Now he's so part of a new street crisis response team in San Francisco. Each rig carries a peer counselor, a behavioral clinician, and a community paramedic.
Well, I think what we've learned over the past couple of years is that every response to 911 does not require a police response. And in fact, in the case of someone who's suffering from mental illness, it could make things a lot worse than they need to be.
Data is spotty, but studies beginning in 2015 suggest that between a quarter to a half of all fatal police shootings involve someone with a mental illness. San Francisco Police Chief William Scott, interviewed this summer, said he was eager for his dispatchers to bring in this kind of help.
I would like to see the police be in a position to bring the resources who are trained to handle, let's say, the non-criminal, non-policing, non-violent situations.
And President Biden called for just this sort of approach on the campaign trail. This team patrols the streets, looking for people in need. It's part of a new program costing an estimated $13 million a year and paid for by a business tax. 911 calls about nonviolent people in crisis are directed away from police to these specialists.
We could transfer someone to a non-emergency psychiatric clinic. We could transport someone to a alcohol sobering center, to shelter, to a substance use treatment program. So any resource that the city has to offer for folks, we will have a referral process for that. I remember when I was in crisis, I don't remember visibly who's in front of me. And sometimes that tone, that approach, it's not just a technique of counseling or de-escalation, but a real person-to-person saying, hey, I'm here to help. How can I help? I appreciate you talking to us. And
homelessness, mental illness, and equity are sensitive topics in San Francisco and across the country. At least one passerby felt we should not be filming people in distress, even with their permission.
these are people living on the streets. Hello, these are people living on the streets. They shouldn't be recorded.
We decided to blur the faces of people in the midst of a mental health crisis. And by the way, this person got housing a few days later, according to San Francisco officials.
You're gonna have the doctor look at your hand? Yeah, 1 o'clock. That's it. That sounds good.
What are they offering you that you need?
What do they offer me? They give me food and they really gonna need me when they like try to help me pack my bag and fold my blankets. You wouldn't have got that to happen. My mind is so jumbled. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough work. It's hard work. But I'm able to really rely on my team. We debrief each and every call. This is our debrief. Who would like to begin?
We watched the team offer comfort, gather belongings, bring over a sandwich. But it's not just talk. Every detail is recorded for the next specialist.
He had some subacute conditions, like his finger, he had some cuts and stuff, some minor stuff that needed to be looked at.
We were able to de-escalate in the moment. We provided resources
resources, and then we would list out what those resources are, and then we would discuss his interaction.
What would you say to someone who sees this and says, so wait, they're spending all this money to go out, talk to people, maybe give them some bags for their goods?
I grew up in a household most people don't know with an aunt who was born with brain damage. She suffered from mental illness. She had a number of challenges, but she wasn't violent. But every time she was at a location where she wouldn't leave or she didn't follow the rules, then they would call the police. Mental illness can affect anyone at any given time, so we need to treat it that way.
At the moment, there are 2 of these teams on the street. By SAR, the plan is to be able to handle the whole city.
I believe we will be able to handle in excess of 10,000 calls per year. Once we're fully implemented, we plan on having 6 street crisis response team units operational every 24-hour period.
I guess you guys showed up. Oh, for sure, yeah, look at you back home.
It's an opportunity for law enforcement to actually focus on public safety, so we appreciate their work. But at that particular moment in time, it did not require law enforcement, and we were happy that we were there.
All right, so looking at that thought process again, that's understanding that we do want our police officers to focus on emergency 911 aspects of community care and community engagement, but there are also opportunities for those specialists who are in those various fields to be able to respond to different things so that our police officers are truly freed up to handle those crime aspects versus those that are in need. Now this last video, I don't know if it's been talked about in regards to, we know that there's some safety issues going on to get to school, to get home from school, inside of the schools, from our junior highs to our elementary, to our high schools. So this is a program that actually started, and I'm gonna share it.
Not many good news stories begin in such a bad news way. It happened last month here at Southwood High School in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Plagued with violence.
Over the course of 3 days,
Another fight.
23 students arrested for fighting.
Massive police response.
But strangely, there hasn't been another incident since. Perhaps in part because of this most unusual crisis intervention team.
Nobody here has a degree in school counseling. No majors in criminal justice. Your qualifications are?
We decided the best people who can take care of our kids are us.
So Michael Lafitte started Dads on Duty.
We're out doing what we do for our babies.
A group of about 40 Southwood dads who now hang out at the school in shifts.
Let's go.
Today, any negative energy that enters the building has to run a gauntlet of good parenting.
What's going on, buddy? You moving fast. I like that horse.
I immediately felt a form of safety. We stopped fighting. People started going to class.
How could that be?
You ever heard of a look?
Dads have the power to do that?
Yes. Not many people know it, but yes.
Let's go, let's go.
But it's not just the firm standards and stern warnings.
Make it class, my son.
It's also the dad jokes.
They just make funny jokes like, oh, hey, your skills untied, but it's really not untied.
It ain't 80.
It's on the bears, right?
And it's that perfect mix of tough love and gentle ribbing that dads do so well that has helped transform this school.
The school has really just been like happy, and you can feel it.
Which is why the dads plan to keep coming to Southwood indefinitely.
Because not everybody has the father figure at home.
Or a male, period, in their life.
So just to be here makes a big difference. Do you think you stumbled on this here?
Absolutely.
They'd like to start chapters of Dads on Duty throughout Louisiana
What's up, baby?
and hope to eventually take on the country
All right.
without a fight. Steve Harmon, on the road in Shreveport, Louisiana.
So again, looking at various different approaches of how do we become more involved and engaged as residents in our community, how do we make sure that specialists are in place where they need to be, but then also how are we providing public safety. So what the videos we just watched was our police, specialists, and then residents and community. So that's the thought process when we're moving towards a fully public safety community. Other things that we really are able to focus on in regards to this ARPA funding opportunity, but other opportunities as well that we've been in discussion with on a federal, state, and county level. everyone knows that we have various alley issues. So in the village of Maywood, there are still 74 alleys that are still rock alleys. What we're doing when we talk about infrastructure is focusing on how can we get those alleys done as soon as possible. So we're working on that aspect. We also realize that there is a lot of road work improvement that needs to be taking place. This summer, as well as scheduled for the next several years, we have road infrastructure projects in place, but we also want to make sure that for those that are not specifically financially accounted for, that we are able to do those things such as grant matching or anything like that, where feasibility does allow it to do so. Again, when we're investing in our community and we're investing in our businesses that may have lost some of their economic loss, we want to be able to help something as such as revitalizing our facade program and doing some streetscaping to make sure that we're attracting more business and attracting more revenue into the village of Maywood are also some areas of focus. Our water system, we know that there are a lot of our water system issues and our sewage issues that range to be nearly 100 years old issues that we're dealing with. So we definitely were able to invest in water system as well as our sewer as well. So in looking at our water and our sewage system, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think you guys have heard me in the past say when we think about our lead service lines, you know, out of 1,300 communities within the state of Illinois, the village of Maywood, according to the Metropolitan Planning Council, says that we rank number 23 for the worst lead service lines throughout the entire state. Not just Cook County, but throughout the entire state. So we've been working diligently with the Metropolitan Planning Council as well as our state legislators and our federal legislators to talk about what can be done about our lead service lines because we know it's going to be a huge project that needs to be an undertaking. So when we think about our capital infrastructure needs, the total comes to $172+ million, and that is definitely what we're focused on for the village of Maywood. But when you think about the possibilities of ARPA funding, be able to grant match and fund match, or shift some dollars around so that we can focus more on this, we can make a better and deeper cut into these drastic issues that have plagued us and that we have sat on or that have not been addressed in the best way possible in the past. Other things that we really need to focus on are our village-wide technology investments. So we'll be looking into what dollars can be used in regards to that. The funding is not just for infrastructure, but also technology advancements. So we'll be looking at a lot of different aspects where we've been focused on that. When we talk about public safety, the other things that we've been really looking at, as I've shared in the past, focusing on increased patrol team, shot spotter license plate readers, updating our vests, updating our radios, updating our camera systems, updating our I-911 center systems where they need updating, looking into upgrading patrol fleet cars, utilizing partnership with Ring that allows our police department to be able to log into the doorbell to be able to view street activity in real time. Then again, focusing on our block clubs, again, public health, public safety to our residents, launching of the Homeland Security, and then also truly focusing on cybersecurity. Not sure if you guys have seen some villages get held ransom and have to pay the ransom to get their systems back up and running or be down for quite some time. So we're definitely looking at cybersecurity as a huge issue. One of the big things that we're truly going to be focused on focusing on in 2022 are each one of our commercial corridors. The reality is we have to focus on what is the branding, what is the marketing, and what is the identity of the village of Maywood. When you go to different parts of town, what is the feel? What would we like to have as businesses within those areas? So when we talk about our commercial corridors, we'll be going to the different locations throughout the village of Maywood to have these types of town halls to say, for those that live in this area or for those that care about community wide, what are some things that we truly need so that we can go out and send our department heads and our staff of community development out to attract those types of businesses here in the village of Maywood. When we think about COVID-19, in talking about COVID-19, right now, as you guys can see, the village of Maywood is at a 44% of population with completed vaccines. What we're truly trying to get is to get that number up. There are some communities within the Proviso Township area that are in the 80 percentile. We are in the low percentile of our vaccinations. So with vaccinations, you can get vaccinated, you can get a booster shot, you can get tested. at PLCCA on 5th and Madison. You can go to the Lightford Recreation Center, where COVID Equity Response Collaborative does vaccinations, testing, as well as booster shots as well. There is COVID testing and vaccinations that you can get done over at the Lexington School parking lot, which is over off of 5th and Harrison, right there. But there are plenty of opportunities throughout if you just search the Cook County website if you can't make it to either one of those. And even if you're a senior, you can reach out to the Proviso Township Transportation and they can drive you to get your vaccination and then bring you back home once you've gotten your vaccination or your booster shot. So we really want to focus on one positive, where you see confirmed cases are actually down by 14%, where if we would have looked a month or two ago, we were still in the red in regards to people testing positive still going up. So we're going on the right ticker. As you can see, we have over 58% that have received at least one dose. So again, that is a 14% jump in where we currently are from completely vaccinated. So we are making strides, but we need to be most diligent. With the Village of Maywood, where the mandate just came out for our staff, we want to make sure that for the staff members that want to be vaccinated and need to get vaccinated, they can get those vaccinations. For those who need exceptions because they cannot be vaccinated, we definitely are taking those into consideration. And for those who would like to continue to get weekly testing versus getting the vaccination, that is an option as well. And the locations that I just said are the locations that they are free to go to get that weekly testing for a COVID vaccine. Manager Wells Armstrong, did you want to add anything to that? All right, this is you. I'm gonna hand this over to Village Manager Wells Armstrong. This was a system that she spoke about in regards to POCO. Right now, we're doing the town halls, but want to make sure that we're doing the surveys to reach more than just the group that's here at the town hall.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. I shared this with the board in my weekly update, I think last week and the week before. POCO is a company that has been utilized by municipalities all over the United States. The Illinois Municipal League recommended them in addition to, they've done work with National League of Cities. What they do is they understand that a lot of times when you have meetings such as this, you tend to have the same people come out, which is great to see all of you, familiar faces, but it's not a true reflection of the entire community. Maywood has over 23,000 residents, and so we want to make sure that we are capturing a broader perspective and voice from the community. So I have recommended to the board that we do utilize POCO. They can conduct surveys, polling, those types of tools and strategies to make sure that we meet our obligation of community engagement. That's one of the things that we have to do in order to be eligible for the ARPA allocations. We have to demonstrate that we engage the community, and when we report, we have to identify what methods we use to do that. So I am making that recommendation that we utilize them because it will capture, and we can use the funding to pay for their services as well.
All right, and then at the
Directors?
last slide.
Okay.
So I just want, this is the last slide. Just want to remind everyone from what I said in the beginning. This is not money that's burning a hole in our pockets. We can use it for 4 different fiscal years. So right now, we have time. The spending does not run out until December 31st of 2024. So when we have conversations about levy increases or taxing needing to go up or different things like that, the opportunity that we have within the ARPA funding to move our budget around and to focus on different things presents an opportunity to not have to focus so much on that when it comes to financial needs. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our village manager and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple of things to share. Director Satchel and I met all day yesterday because we just wanted to get a grasp around looking at the budget, looking at the ARPA funding. In our analysis of the legislation that was passed and some of the compliance guidelines that they have provided to us, one of the things and some feedback that I've gotten from the board members in addition to some of the residents, perhaps an allocation for the water fund. That seems to be a big issue here in the village, making sure that there's some support to support families who are struggling with paying their water bills. So that was one of the things that we discussed. I talked about POCO already to make sure that we're fulfilling our requirement in regard to community engagement. Administrative costs can be covered under ARPA money, so we looked at the staff that would directly be impacted in terms of monitoring the ARPA funding, collecting data, analyzing data, implementing some of the initiatives. That would be under the finance department, myself, community engagement, and human resources. So we can, and when the mayor's talking about, instead of us paying, if let's say for salaries, just for a rough number, if we were paying $500,000 in salaries, we could use a certain percentage of those salaries and cover those under the ARPA funding, which would then leave that money available in the general fund, if that makes sense. So that's an example of some of the administrative costs that can be recouped. One of the other things, of course, is COVID testing. As you all know, we have a mandatory policy the board voted on October 19th. We are partnering, working in close partnership with the Village of Broadview. As you all know, we share employees through Ike 911 Center, and that policy goes into effect this Friday on the 29th. We need to make sure we do allocate some funding for COVID testing, although there are places in the community to get it free, and we want to utilize those places to minimize the cost and impact on the village, but we still want to make sure that we're responsible and allocate some money for COVID testing, some money for PPE, so we can make sure that we're keeping people safe, some money to make sure that we're cleaning the facilities regularly and thoroughly so that we can minimize risk of infection and transmission. So testing, COVID, allocation there. The other thing that Mayor talked about, the water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. One of the cities that experienced, huge issues under cybersecurity attacks was the city of Baltimore. And we don't want that to happen. Our infrastructure in terms of technology is very outdated. I spoke with, again, Director Satchel yesterday. We need to make some investments. I'm recommending that we have a full assessment done of all of our IT, all of our computers, all of our technology, the street lights, the cameras, everything, because I don't believe that we've had one since 2018. We did bring a consultant on board to help our current consultant. They're mostly managing operations right now and trying to track, get some lists together and track some things down, but we really need a deeper dive into our technology. And since we can use ARPA money for broadband and infrastructure and those types of things, I think that would be a good place to make some investments. And of course, leaving some money, as the mayor mentioned, to match. We can go after more grants if we have money to match those grants. I think that was it. One of the things Director Satchel and I talked about were capital investments. So she was questioning if police radios would be covered under ARPA. I'm looking, my interpretation is yes. And we know that's an investment that needs to be made as soon as possible, just because of the collaboration we have with the Ike 911 Center and making sure that those municipalities, everybody's able to talk to each other on the system. So we will confirm that, but if that is the case, I strongly make that recommendation as well for our police radios.
All right. With that being said, we're going to open up to public comment. There were some who signed up.
Our first speaker, Edwina Perkins.
Hello. There's a need for a technology upgrade. It should be on, but
Winter Perkins, my question is, since you have this information out and it's on video, are you going to give this information to us citizens? And I'm asking the question, when will we get the information as to what the village is going to do with the funds? Because it's specific that there's only certain things that we can do. Will we, the citizens, get that information, and when it will be available for us? Asking the question, and definitely our police radios definitely should be on the register to do that, because it states in there that it's available. Thank you.
Annalee, Jamie? Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Maywood. I am a leader with CSPL, and I've been a Maywood resident for about 12 years. I was really happy to hear that Maywood is receiving the ARPA funds because the money can go towards critical efforts in our village, such as like the water infrastructure and bilingual access and mental health resources. As someone who is bilingual, I have the privilege of entering English-speaking and Spanish-speaking spaces and know exactly what is going on and give my input. However, many of our neighbors who are Spanish-speaking only cannot engage with the village of Maywood meaningfully because none of the materials are translated and none of the meetings are interpreted into Spanish. This means that hundreds of Maywood residents who want to contribute their time, energy, and talent into making Maywood a more beautiful and unified village cannot, only because there is the language barrier. This leaves them excluded, but also confused about what's going on in their community. We are all working to make Maywood a more safe and vibrant village, but we need everyone involved to make that happen, including our Spanish-speaking neighbors. This is a lot of money that we're getting, and I trust that it will go towards this issue. And tonight, as I said, I'm bilingual, but my parents are not, and they also are homeowners, and they cannot engage in meetings and board meetings and know what's going on unless I tell them what's going on. So I think it's important to consider, just like we're flying the Mexican flag during, Hispanic Heritage, I think it's important to take into account that there's people here in the village that don't understand the language. And I think it's time to take that into account and what they mean to the village as well. Thank you.
Rose Ocampo?
Good evening, trustees, village manager, and the mayor. My name is Rose Ocampo, and I'm a leader with the Coalition of Spiritual and Public Leadership. I have been a Maywood resident for almost 12 years. Receiving these ARPA funds of millions of dollars can change Maywood for the better, for our community, and create more unity across the village. We have 34% of Latinos. I think we have more. It's just the ones that were counted. 38. More than that. But let's just say this, okay? We have 34% of Latinos in the village of Maywood, but no bilingual resources for them to be engaged with what's going on in our village. We need the village of Maywood to invest in bilingual resources such as robocalls. They need to be updated and be said in English and Spanish. Flyers need to be translated into Spanish. We need interpretation at our village town halls meetings and board meetings, because the Latino community needs to be considered and engaged in our village, but language continues to be the barrier. This will create more community input and unity in our village. This was the commitment you all made back in March. And also, having all these language resources It will be a better village of Maywood. These ARPA funds are incredible opportunity. It's an incredible opportunity for us to put our dollars in the right place. Thank you.
Kadima Palace.
Hi everyone, thank you for giving me this space to talk. I am not a resident of Maywood, but I'm privileged enough to work in Maywood at Housing Forward. We have been in the community since 2007, housed here and serving since 1992. Because of the pandemic, we had to shut down our support center as well as our emergency pad shelters. So right now, most folks that are experiencing homelessness rely on our diversion call center, as well as our interim housing program and our street outreach programs. Over the course of this last year, we served approximately 150 Maywood residents just in our interim housing program, which is a 90-day sort of emergency shelter program, and in our outreach programs. I mean, we're getting approximately 1,000 calls a month for folks that are experiencing homelessness or housing instability, and a majority of those are clients that are looking for shelter or resources to prevent them from ending up on the street. So what we're asking that you consider investing in is general assistance that can help people sort of float if they've experienced any kind of job loss or anything because of the pandemic or other reasons, as well as supportive housing, more like low-income subsidized housing, and emergency shelter services, which is, I know, a big ask, but any one of those things to help provide safe space for our clients. We know that goes a long way to helping with public health issues, physical health, mental health, substance abuse issues. So on behalf of Public Forward, we're asking for that consideration.
Sandra Gates.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, trustees, village manager, and clerk. Good evening. My name is Sandra Gates, and I'm a longtime resident and CSP officer. The ARPA fund will benefit Maywood in many ways. Most of the topics, I think we've already covered, regarding the water, infrastructure, and also at the intersections on 5th and Madison, 1st and Chicago Avenue, I think we need updated traffic lights, with the turn signals, because people have to wait too long, and I think it's kind of dangerous too. It could be kind of dangerous at times. Also regarding the water system, in Maywood, the bills average $60 to as high as $900, whereas in Chicago, people only pay $19 a month. I don't understand that our bills are so outrageous. And also, the pandemic proved that technology is the fundamental infrastructure of the 21st century. We need money to upgrade our internet to make it high speed, because I had called my provider and asked, is they up to speed, and she told me that it wasn't available. So that was kind of disheartening. Now you're talking about broadband. I'm hoping that you all, maybe you could have interns who use the high school input from the high school students and local colleges like Triton and Dominican, because we have some bright children with innovative ideas, and this would be a missed opportunity if you don't take advantage of that. And I'd like to thank you for your time, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Lovey Jones.
and explained this. I want to know why he knows that the water bill was so high for Maywood. And then, when I came in Maywood, I used to go out a lot around friends and neighbors. And I had one neighbor say, well, our taxes is so high, and I want to know why our taxes high, no one else taxes is high in Maywood. And I told her, well, I really don't know. We can look into this. You can call the village. I don't know if she did or not. And so another thing is concerned about the stores. She said, well, why we don't have stores that make it come? Why have you asking me this? Okay, I'm just a friend. I live in Maywood. So she was so hurt that they had closed all of them down. But she stayed in the senior citizen building, not too far. So I don't know. We have to look into this. She said, okay. So she was concerned about her grandson. She's trying to get her grandson in some kind of activity, like keep him off the street. And I'm saying, well, I know I will, so you can call him. We have programs for kids, you know. She said, well, I've been trying to call. I said, well, you must not be giving the right person. Because I know you have a program for kids. And she said, okay, I can try. My other lady said she's been in Maywood, Miss Williams, said she's been in Maywood for 20 years. I asked her to come with me tonight, but she was disgusting. I guess her daughter made her mad, but she concerned about the taxes too. Okay. So I told her I would go to the meeting, see what they say about the taxes, people's taxes so high. And about the grocery store, they said we need to go to the store. We need to build our community back up. I said, okay.
Jones, your time is
I
up.
will speak there to let them know. So I'm here for my neighbors and myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea Cook Ellis.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrea Cook-Ellis, and Mayor and Village Manager. A couple that I wanted to ask in PowerPoint and confirm it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What did she say?
Our items were covered in the presentation and discussion.
Peter, and I cannot read your last name,
Donnie.
I'm sorry. Donnie?
Donnie.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. I would say I would start first with the police. It's very good that somebody finally is trying to do something with the police, because just 3 police officers for whom Maywood is definitely not a good thing. We got a great chief, finally, a man of his word, one of a kind. That's a great thing to happen for Maywood. But it's very nice, this road program, but first of all, we have to deal with the officers that we already have. Having one officer in a vehicle, that's obviously a problem. What happens in the case of shooting while driving? Who's going to drive? Who's going to take care? Who's going to cover? That's something that has to be taken care of. Talking about technologies, there are multiple cameras, let's say on St. Charles Avenue, that has been built for years. There are another ones among the Maywood, and my question is, what is going on with those ones? Why those ones are not in service, or I don't know, because I know a woman was killed pretty much right where the camera is. Nobody knows anything, so that's an issue right there. Also, talking about the police, it is good to have a squad car for each school. Last Friday, my son comes back from school. All that we had to hide. Why, son? Because we heard how our glass is breaking, and then our teacher is telling us, oh, you gotta go to the lockers, we got a problem. So that was a big problem for me. And talking about money investing into village prosperity. Okay, that's very great, and money always helps. But there are several things that could be done, and the village will be working in way better condition. The most important for us as residents is to have a clear visual of what is happening with the village, with the officials, and to have a way. Let's say elderly people, it's very good that we are in 21st century talking about technologies, but elderly people, reality is they cannot work with the computers. So it's got to be a system adopted to them, whether it's going to be the old grandpa's book that everybody can write. And of course, we must not put aside all of the Hispanic people who already see troubles on leaflets and so on, such stuff. So these, they have to have a way to put a review. Let's say you're going to code enforcement. Oh, we have an ignorance over there. Ignorance doesn't lead to a progress. And then all of these backfires, they should be visible for everybody, and the village should be reviewing them and then figure out if the person is right for the right position. Because taking a couple months or 3 months for somebody to start understanding his or her job, no, that's a setup failure. If somebody doesn't know why they're hired, what's the reason, that's not good. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Citizen Smith?
Good evening to the mayor and board.
Good evening.
I am a resident, a senior citizen. I live in the senior building on 2nd Avenue. And I just have a couple quick things. One, I have been living here 5 years. I have been traveling through here 40 years because I have family. And we did request a light for our building. And they did put one on, but it was not put in the requested space. At the corner of 2nd and Washington, it is pitch black. When a person approaches that corner, you can't even see which direction they went in. Second thing is, I would like to know what systems or mechanisms you plan on putting in place for POCO to determine your community engagement. What are they going to be seeing that's going to be different from what I've seen over the last maybe 20 to 30 years?
Sandra Gibson?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Sandra Gibson, and I wanted to speak tonight in reference to the American Rescue Plan Act funding. I think the village should see what funds can be used to support housing redevelopment. The village of Maywood has a number of vacant houses that can be redeveloped and put to use for people who want to buy a home. As a realtor, in the last 6 months, I've seen homeowners receive multiple offers when selling their homes. So there is a high demand for homes among home buyers. Having more homeowners in the village is what I would call a triple win. A win for new home buyers, a win for current homeowners who get more owners to pay into the real estate tax base, and a win for the whole village community when we get more money to address the cost of village operations, street and infrastructure improvements, and public safety. Thank you.
Natalie Green?
taxes or not. Another thing, I've been here, living with, almost 12 years now, and I share a driveway, with the homeowner. She's been in her home, I think, 30, 40 years, and she's a real nice senior citizen. But as someone also was saying about not being computer literate, and I have neighbors a couple doors down that are not really computer literate, so the information that we're getting here is not being shared with everybody that's in the community. And I was thinking, she gets calls and she tells me about calls from the president or calls from other people that's calling her, and she feels as though it's directed to her. And I tell her, just wants to know that's not the case, you know. So I'm thinking maybe also flyers being, you know, delivered or dropped in the mailboxes or something for those that may, you know, be able to use that as a resource. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So, Mrs. Perkins, you spoke of where the information that's being presented tonight be available to the public. Right now, it's live on YouTube and Facebook. So you can go to either, if you don't have a Facebook account, you can go to YouTube and view it under the Village of Maywood social media account. You said the report and the spending has to be reported to the federal government, so that will most certainly be made public knowledge, and that will be made as a report that we can include as where the funds are specifically going. And then I couldn't agree, the radios are more certainly needed. Then Ms. Hema, you spoke in regards to the bilingual investment. So right now, the Village of Maywood is updating the village website. The village website will be both in English and Spanish. And then we're also working with bilingual marketing so that we can have some of our forms that can be translated as well. And then most certainly working to work towards, again, making sure resources are available. In regards to Ms. Ocampo, some of the same things were reiterated, but I also did want to add, because building and code was brought up, we actually have hired someone who works specifically at the desk now in building and code who is bilingual, who was not there before. So in making sure that when we're dealing with building and code, there is someone right there at the desk who can do translation, because before in the past, it will be us getting other staff members or pulling code enforcement off of the streets. There is a dedicated person who works full-time at the desk that is currently bilingual that we recently hired. Ms. Pallas, in regards to the diversion call center, interim housing, and all of that, I'm gonna have to get with Linda so we can have some more conversations. She knows how to text and email, so we'll get a calendar appointment and learn more about that. Ms. Gates, we'll look at 5th and Madison, and staff will look at 1st and Chicago Avenue. In regards to the water system that you brought up, there was a 2017 report from the Chicago Tribune that did report that the Village of Maywood, 50% of our water is wasted before it reaches a home. What I can say that we have been working on diligently is our infrastructure issues, but also our billing issues. In the past, there were some commercial areas that were not being properly billed. Some people and some homes were getting average bills versus accurate billing, which are some things that we're working on and cleaning up. But at that time of that report that came out from the city, for those communities of 162 areas that receive City of Chicago water, you are right, we were ranked 154. So we were in the bottom 10. We are the highest water rate in the Proviso Township and in the western suburbs, but we are working diligently with our infrastructure, with our hydrants, with new systems being installed in regards to accurate reading. And this time next year, that report really is a big push and a big focus. If we get various things done, the same company that came out and did that assessment for us, if we are very diligent about getting some of our infrastructure issues taken care of, they'll come out and do another free assessment. So that could either be published in late 2022 or early 2023.
to see specifically where we are in regards to our water issues. Then Ms. Gates could agree with you more. Definitely already having conversations with the high school students, also having conversations with the middle school students, as well as working with Dominican. We did a study with a group of students from Loyola, and we are currently working with two different study groups for Loyola, one focusing on our taxes, one focusing on our water system. And then the last group actually did their grant project in regards to the water systems and legal issues that can be identified and things like that in regards to the Village of Maywood water system. Ms. Jones, again, as I said, we do have the highest water bill. We did work with the Loyola Department of Law in regards to students coming up with some projects in regards to water. We also have a report from the Metropolitan Planning Council in regards to our water. I have 2 meetings happening next week with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and we have worked with them where they have already provided more than $4 million in regards to address some of our water issues and our sewage system as well, looking to showcase more of a need and more of an assessment that's needed in regards to that. We are pursuing grocery opportunities, so prayerfully there'll be some details coming in the near future. When you spoke on the student, I couldn't tell if it was a teenager, but there is teen zones that happen at the Lightfoot Recreation Center every other Friday. So if you reach out to the Maywood Park District, they have teen zone from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I believe it's the first and third Friday. Students can really come, hang out, have some food, play games. It's really a way for them to just get off the streets, relax, and have a good time. There's no charge to it. Also, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated kicked off their Alpha Quest program for middle school students and high school students 2 months ago. So far they've done robotics projects with the students, and then this last month, they meet once Saturday a month. This last one, they took them to the DuSable Museum for a tour. So again, if you reach out to the Maywood Park District, they can get you in contact with the Alpha Phi Alpha Alpha Quest program. Then there's also the Saturday University. So Saturday University is every Saturday at the Lightfoot Recreation Center. So again, if you reach out to the Maywood Park District, they'll be able to direct you to some of those other teen resources. There's a variety of other things that our teens can get involved in. During the summer, we had a teen work summer program. The summer work program paid the teens $15 an hour for 20 hours of work a week. So that program actually is coming to an end in 4 days, but that was a program that went from June to the end of October. So there are opportunities for that, but there's also volunteerism opportunities to just have the students be off the streets and get actively engaged. So if you know anyone that would love to get involved with that, they can reach out to our community relations director, Ms. Banks, so that we can go ahead and get them involved and engaged in various aspects of volunteerism, just to get them off the streets and have them be involved in positive things. Ms. Cook-Ellis, thank you so much. Peter, always ready to talk. Thank you for saying we made a good pick in chief. I know you're hard at the follow, so I appreciate you saying that. Community policing, yesterday we had the community policing meeting where Chief Willis did talk about organizational structure to focus in regards to where our police officers and our patrol team and our investigations team are best needed. So he'll be focusing on that, and he'll continue to be communicating those things. The community policing meets every 4th Monday at 7 p.m. at the Lightfoot Recreation Center. I keep saying at the Lightfoot Recreation Center. It's on the corner of 9th and Madison, on the Madison side where the red door entrance is. The camera systems definitely need updating. We definitely are currently looking into upgrading into the new system. The system is old, it's outdated. And
so
it
is it operational at all, or it's not operational?
The specific location that you're referring to, I would have to divert that to Chief. Did you take that street? What was the street again? It was 19th and who? What was the street that you said?
Well, there are cameras all over on St. Charles, they're on Orchard Avenue.
So we're doing a full assessment on all of the cameras to see which ones are operational, which ones aren't operational, which ones are salvageable, which ones need to be completely ripped out and gutted. That's what the assessment is being done right now, but I can't speak to specific blocks and specific cameras. But if you get with Chief Willis, he can definitely go over that with you. And then when you talked about the clear vision along with some transparency and understanding, so definitely we are focused on senior friendly with technological advances, working with the Metropolitan Mayoral's Caucus. There is a group that I work with called the Aging Friendly Community Group that focuses specifically on seniors. So we are definitely focusing to make sure that when we are focusing on the community, we're not only just focusing on a certain demographic or certain different age group. I also spoke about the translation and the different things being made available to the bilingual community. But this is why we had then also in focus on transparency and communication and just overall educational awareness. This is why we have these type of town halls where we continue to have more and more town halls. I believe the more information, the better, so that we can actually direct the narrative in what's actually happening versus perceived or perception of what's happening. Then also we have the monthly meetings with the mayor, which is every third Thursday. So we have different speakers come about different topics. One month it'll be at 10 a.m. for breakfast, and the next month at 7 p.m. as a town hall in the evening. So it's either breakfast with the mayor or evening with the mayor, and it depends on which month. It just rotates. Community public safety meetings, as I said before, are every fourth Monday at 7 p.m. And then when we talk about the seniors meet weekly where they get a speaker, they get food, as well as activities from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. every Wednesday at the Maywood Park District on 9th and Madison, entrance through the 9th Avenue Administrative Building entrance. Ms. Gibson, you talked about housing development. I'm happy to say that today we did get the email of working with the Metropolitan Mayoral's Caucus. There's a program called Homes for a Changing Region where they come in and provide assessments and different things in that aspect. So we will be getting more information out to that in regards to that very soon. Ms. Green, in dealing with talked about water services funding. So Cook County Water Suppliers is actually rolling out a new series of grant funding that will begin in the month of November, where we are setting residents up to get water assistance. So we will be working with CEDA, which is the Community Economic Development Association, where there will be funding made available to those who are in need of water assistance. And looking at our taxes, definitely we have, since we had the last tax talks, so last month we had the Cook County Board of Review, we have the Cook County Clerk's Office, as well as the Cook County Assessor's Office come and speak to us in regards to the taxing issues. Since that time, we've worked with an organization in regards to legislation on the state level that would have actually negatively impacted our taxes to have it withdrawn from consideration. We have been looking into, legal has been looking into businesses that the village of Maywood will give a good favor in regards to them getting a tax incentive or a tax discount, but then even after that, they double dip and go back for even more tax discounts. So we've been legally looking into how we can address that, but then also moving forward in making sure that our documents and our paperwork that we're providing to those businesses help them understand that the double dipping is not allowed in the village of Maywood. And then we're also looking on a state, county, and federal level at different legislation that has to change on a larger level for our businesses and corporations that are getting more tax favor that puts more tax burden on the residents. So stay tuned for those details to come. And then in regards to information sharing, definitely we do the monthly newsletter now. That was not, it was in the past, it was just done twice a year. So now we do the monthly newsletter. If you are not signed up for the monthly newsletter, you can go to bit.ly/Maywood News. It literally just asks for your name and your email address, and you'll get that newsletter. If you want a paper copy, each month they're available at the Village Hall. So right when you walk into the front door at the receptionist desk, the newsletter is available for grab. We also, in regards to notices, as you guys see today, there's a notice, and there's a notice in regards to our lease season. So in discussing our lease season, this letter and this notice, as well as this map, will also be going in our water bills. So in the water bills, notices will be given to residents, and in the best way and at the leisure that we have time, they'll make sure that certain specific things that are day-to-day operational and as well as administrative staffing is communicated through those newsletters. We also have the new My Civic app where we're able to provide alerts for those who have used the My Civic app. You'll get an alert that'll say a water main is out or different things like that. And then we also have been very heavily involved in creating and sharing news on social media. So we are active on Instagram and Facebook. And then most recently we start posting all of our live feeds on YouTube. So for those who don't have Facebook and can't go to the Village of Maywood site on Facebook, you can always go to YouTube to the Village of Maywood page and view the various different videos. Other than that, the administration has taken down other various notes, so for specific things or things to take into consideration that were more so of thoughts to think about. We are definitely going to look into those things, and we'll be sharing more and more information in regards to our American Rescue Act plan funding. With that being said, did either one of the trustees want to chime in before we close?
Is there an opportunity for people who couldn't speak tonight to get input?
Yeah, the POCO. So the POCO survey that'll come out will actually be sent out to residents through My Civic. It'll be in the newsletter, it'll be on the website, and it'll be shared within robocalls and water bills that people can go and actually take the survey. For seniors who want to take the POCO survey, we will be at the Garden House in December for a follow-up meeting that we had last quarter, so I told them that I'd come quarterly. They'll also have the POCO survey where we'll have tablets available to them on Wednesdays at the senior meeting between 1 and 3 p.m. for those who need assistance in regards to that as well. And then we'll put that information out to all, we'll have tablets available at all the different community meetings that we have as well.
So what is the time frame for that survey?
The POCO survey. So we have to get the licenses, get the agreements, get the pricing, get the billing. I would say, yeah, we as soon as it's all set up, you'll be the first one to know, I'm sure. And I know you read your emails. So we'll make sure that you get that. And then, okay, village manager had one correction she wanted to make.
Yes. This is not going out in the water bill. That was the plan, but we'll pretty much be done with leaf season by the time the next water bill comes out. So with leaf season, it was brought to my attention that there are sometimes people breaking leaves into the streets after DPW has come by. So Director West explained to me that the village is divided into zones, and there's certain days that garbage, of course, is picked up and your leaves and that sort of thing. So starting November 1st, they're going to be collecting leaves. This flyer talks about what that process is, and we're just asking for everyone's cooperation. Because what happens if you put the leaves in the streets, in the drains, you're going to create problems with the infrastructure. Things will get backed up. We'll have, people will start having issues in their home. So we're asking the community to work with us. And Ms. Banks graciously got this information prepared today that has been posted in various places. But it will not, the water bill already went out, so it will not be in the water bill.
Okay, so we'll do the robocalls, we'll put it through My Civic, it'll be in the newsletter, and then we'll work on getting the information out on social media as well.
Yes.
Just a clarification, I wanted to know what time span will the survey cover? It's going to start on what date and close on
As soon as you get that email, you will know.
Oh, so you don't have that date yet?
If I may.
We just got some of the money, so we just have to put it all together. So as soon as it's all put together, we'll send that information out, we'll get that communicated to the residents, and we'll make sure that that survey goes out and we're able to record that information.
Yes, Ms. Cole, I was proposing to the board, I was making the recommendation based on my analysis of what I've looked at with the finance director, that we utilize that. So the board has to approve that process. And then POCO, one of the young ladies that spoke tonight talked about the community engagement. POCO is going to determine how to gather the information from the community. We have a number of seniors. I know Trustee Jones has raised that issue as well about technology. Everybody's not using Facebook and on technology. So POCO, they would work with us to figure out the best ways to gather the information based on how our community engages. It's not all technology, it's not all, but they do things like surveys, they do things like polling, they have a number of strategies they use. I was just simply proposing tonight that we utilize them because they have the capacity to do these things and to make sure that we are compliant. So we don't have it set up yet, it has to come before this board has to approve that process, and then we'll be able to define what that process is.
All right, is there anything, yes, sir? I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay, I got everything moved. I'm not sure if you addressed the issue with homeowners repair or rehab?
Yeah, I think, so with the homeowners repair, we're looking at homeowners repair along with the HUD program. So with identifying different programs, there is a program that we work with in Schaumburg, but it's only for seniors. And thinking about the home repair aspect, there is the handyman program with Proviso Township that also provides some sort of home repairs. So you can reach out to Proviso Township that has a handyman program that focuses on small home repairs. But then also you can get with Ms. Banks, come to your card, and we can send you some information in regards to various programs through the housing and urban development programs that might apply to what the needs may be for you.
Well, I was out one day last week and one of the handyman vans happened to come by and he was at one of the homeowners' home, and I was asking him questions about it. That's mainly for senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there, not quite there. So I don't think I qualify for assistance through that program.
Gotcha. So then that would be part of getting the information from the housing and urban development. And then we'll see what parameters and what programs that you might be able to qualify for.
Another thing, when you mentioned about the newsletter, that's a good idea of including things in the mail with the water bill and going back to the seniors. If it's possible also for something like this, something to be included in the water bill to inform that if they wanted to sign up to get regular copies of the newsletter, to include it with the water bill. So it gives them opportunity to sign up for it.
Village manager shaking her head, yes, we'll get right on top of that.
Let me see. And one other thing last week. I guess I have a soft spot for seniors and being taken advantage of by people. As an idea, just throwing an idea out there, and I don't know if the village is able to afford anything like this. We were talking about the survey. I'm thinking since they have the handyman van, maybe a van or something can periodically, if you all are able to get one, drive through the neighborhoods, you know, making yourself available for the seniors that's not able to come to the village to get leaflets or that's not able to read or whatever the case may be. It gives them opportunity to stop the van and it can be done once a week or so. The van is going to be here such and such, going through the neighborhood or whatever the case may be. That's just a thought.
Gotcha. So, I mean, right now, we do make sure that our residents and especially our seniors know that Ms. Banks is always available for a phone call to assist in any way possible. We do make sure, right now, what we're looking at is updating our robocall system to make sure that more phone numbers are added to it and people get the information more. In regards to focusing on redeveloping and building out our block clubs, once we identify more block club captains, then they can be more of the people who will make sure that they're taken care of, or they are aware of the seniors on their block, so that we can pinpoint what the needs are individually instead of spending a village-wide initiative, just what specific block-by-block needs are and assess them accordingly.
Mayor.
Trustee Brandon?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to something the citizen just mentioned in regards to assistance for homeowners to, like, make repairs to their homes. So in the past, the village of Maywood has worked with local community banks to put together a program specifically for homeowners to be able to tackle some of those major issues confronting them. So even if they wasn't a senior, they were able to tap into like this low loan or low interest program for the residents to be able to make major repairs to their homes. So that's something that we may want to look at local community banks, Proviso Community Bank, U.S. Bank. I know when Seaway Bank was official banking, not what it is now. We were working with Seaway Bank to offer these low interest program for seniors to be able to, or residents of Maywood altogether to be able to tap into to make major repairs to their homes at this low interest rate program that they had. So we might want to reestablish that relationship. But I just wanted to speak to what I heard this evening, and two of the areas I think that are most important for us to take a look at in regards to these funds are two major areas, and that shall be infrastructure as well as public safety. When you look at the cost and the need in regards to our infrastructure problems across the village, this is a great opportunity for us to reinvest in our old, outdated infrastructure within the village of Maywood as well. And from the area of public safety, I think that's also critical to ensure that not only that we're bringing in, additional officers to help making sure we get those numbers back up to where they need to be, but also making sure that they have the equipment and the tools they need to do what they need to do out in the community to help keep our residents safe. And if you look at the dollar amount that we're expecting to get, I think it's what, $1.3 million we've already received, somewhere around that mark. The next year, the other piece is coming in. It's not like it's a whole lot of money, right? Based on what our needs are. So we have to make sure that we're being very much strategic with what we do have and make sure that we're utilizing it to its fullest potential as well. And in areas that are in dire need, and this is just my opinion, infrastructure as well as, and it's a clear way to do it. Infrastructure as well as public safety. Those are the most needed areas to put these resources. I don't know, want us to think, oh, we got this rainfall of money, we up there. No, that's not what the reality is. I think that if we look at our needs are so much greater than these resources that we have. I think those two areas, infrastructure as well as public safety, are the most important areas to make sure we utilize those funds in.
Can I ask what the total amount is going to be dispersed to Maywood?
The total is 3.1.
Million.
3.148. So yeah, thank you for that, Trustee Brandon. In regards to the home repair program, we've already been in discussion with Proviso Community Bank to provide those types of home repair programs, to also look into focusing on being a renter versus a homeowner programs, introducing some more financial literacy programs, first-time home buyer programs, as well as like a home buyer redemption for those who may have made a mistake the first time around, but still, because of the mistakes that were made, helping them the same way that you would help a first-time buyer. So those programs are being in discussion. As soon as we have a launch of something substantial, we will make those announcements. And then I think we all can agree from the presentations and the videos were shown, we are truly focused on infrastructure and public safety as the true priorities of what this funding can be spent on. So with that being said,
Can I make one comment?
yes, ma'am.
I've seen over the years, we spend money to invest in various projects. We get money or we get a grant and we do streetscaping or invest in purchasing something, but we don't build in money to routine maintenance is truly important. We miss that, we don't build it into our budgets, and so we do streetscape and then we don't take care of it. We don't weed it, we don't maintain it, we don't put bricks back once they get out, and so the money that we invested in these various projects don't hold up over time because they're not built in. And then if something comes up, it's not in our budget, so we don't maintain it. So can we please use some of that money, or build, if we use the money for something else, then we have money to put in our regular budget for ongoing maintenance of whatever we invest in. So that's kind of what I'm asking.
I agree. So we most recently just opened up a capital improvements account with Proviso Community Bank to actually put funding aside for projects and things that we know either down the line we will need or sustainability in regards to projects that we are currently doing. So yes, we are focused on that. We have one more, then we're gonna wrap it up.
Get a breakdown of how the taxes are spent for the improvement of services.
So when we get into the budget season conversation, which is next month, we'll have a presentation from the finance department that goes through each department and how the budget is spent. George, what you got?
I would like to know, who do the village have that goes around and gives some concern about trees that have died? No leaves on the trees, limbs falling. Once before I brought this up, you had someone that come into the 1300 block, they cut the dead tree down, and I was very much pleased to see the quick response that I got. But now, since they removed that dead tree, there's another one directly across the street from where that one was. Limbs have failed, been laying on the ground. Nobody come around to remove these dead tree limbs. And the 1200 block wreck and the street that's in the back of me, humongous tree limbs have failed and have been laying there for months. And limbs are steady falling, small limbs. Well, we get a major storm through this area. Those tree limbs gonna do some damage because the wind, if it uproot live trees, what do you think it's gonna do to these dead trees? We should have somebody with some conscience to have something did about this. When I first moved to Maywood, I heard on the news where a tree limb fell here in this village and killed someone. I think it was over on 9th Avenue. Well, you got it was a little girl. It was a little girl. You have more dead trees. If you can get someone to go around and take notice of what's live and what's dead with these trees, you will be doing the peoples of Maywood a great service and protecting them by removing these dead trees.
Okay.
And on that note, I just put into my Civic today, one tree that's a half a block away from me is having that same problem that he's identifying now.
And following up what Ms. Cole just said, for those who do not have the My Civic application on your phone, if you go to the Apple Play Store or if you go to the Google Play Store and just type in Village of Maywood, the My Civic app will pop up for you. These are things that you can report that we can get to in real time. George, for seniors, again, you can call Ms. Banks. Ms. Banks is at the senior location from 1 to 3 every Wednesday with the seniors for them to be able to report various different issues. So we encourage the seniors to come out and enjoy themselves, but also report different issues that they normally wouldn't be able to report, but also just give a phone call and let us know so that we can get to those things. We did just hire a new director of building and code who does do the driving around the community to make sure we're not only doing code enforcement, but we're focused on the safety and sustainability of our community. So him and his team are being diligent in regards to doing that. But I would just continue to say, when you see something, say something. If
Well, just,
don't wait months. Just let us
just
know.
throw him a cue that he should look up.
And on that note, I enjoyed it. So I just need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn from trustee Graham, second by trustee Lightfoot. Are there any questions? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sanchez. Trustee Reyes-Plummer. Trustee Jones. Trustee Lightfoot. Trustee Pepper. Trustee Brandon. Mayor Booker.
Everyone have a blessed night.